Gilbert, it is time now for a certified Compas.
That's new.
Yeah, so it is new. Hopefully, I can replicate it next week. I don't know what I did there.
I was like, wait, we need like a sound or some kind of, because I get used to all the announcement for the segments like una más, stuff like that. I kind of hear it, but we need something for certified compa.
Yeah.
Something cool because
Certified.
certified. There you go. There you
go. Yeah. Gilbert, obviously, it was a huge weekend. And I mean, I'm not talking about Cinco de Mayo because that's whatever's, but it was a huge weekend for Latinos all over. I mean, I guess all over, just because Canelo Alvarez ends up going home to Guadalajara, Jalisco. It was his first time boxing there. I think he said in 12 years. I didn't even know that it was 12 years ago.
Been a while.
And then obviously Bad Bunny ends up going to Puerto Rico to wrestle with WWE, which is huge, especially everything that he's been doing all around. So I thought it was honestly awesome to see two of the biggest stars in their professions, I guess, end up going and being able to celebrate with their people. I mean, we all heard how big. I mean, even people who didn't even know that Bad Bunny was wrestling in WWE, they're like, wow, that's a pop. Like, and obviously you saw what Canelo did. Canelo went all out with the crown and the mariachi and everything. So I thought it was huge for the culture. And obviously, I just wish, I guess Canelo would have worn an LWO shirt. That would have been awesome. If he came out with an LWO, that would have been like, okay, perfect weekend. But I honestly thought, Gilbert, that it was a great weekend for Latinos all over.
Yeah, and kind of to set the scene here for this new segment, Certified Compas, I want it to be where we talk about ourselves, our culture, and obviously tie it into sports in some way. And we're just kind of just two compas talking about it, what our observation, and maybe down the line we get people to come in and talk with the compas, I have guests and stuff like that, and just shoot the, I can't say the word, but just have a good conversation. And yeah, and it was good to see these homecomings for the culture, and
shoot the shiitake mushrooms with us.
There you go. Shoot the
shiitake mushrooms.
Yeah, certified compas is good. But yeah, it was good to see two homecomings, and you know what? I'll start off with the WWE one before I get to boxing, because that one's kind of been established. Cinco de Mayo. It was cool that it was in his hometown of Guadalajara, Jalisco, which is not too far away from my hometown, or not my hometown, but my family's hometown, Tepic Nayarit, which is I think like 2 or 3 hours.
3 hours.
So people love, it's kind of like the next big city, and people love anything that comes out of there, and they love the Chivas too. By the way, I read one of the story. I think it was Mike Coppinger from ESPN. I was reading the Canelo feature he did, and I did not know the Chivas do not allow players who are not Mexican on their squads. I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting, but also kind of dumb, but whatever. But yeah. What else, I guess, on the Chivas, but
basically,
let's go to the WWE before I say some good things about the boxing thing, because I wasn't too happy about it. But and I'll put it this way: I wore my LWO shirt on Saturday evening, and I got a couple of compliments when I was leaving one of the bars. Somebody was like, "Hey, cool shirt!" Like, oh, so it's catching on, and it brings out the childhood of having Latinos as pro wrestlers, and showing the culture side of the luchadores and Rey Mysterio with the mask. But it kind of fizzled out. Like, it felt like it was just Rey Mysterio for the longest, because obviously Eddie Guerrero passed away, and his legend is still there. But now I think there's something there, and I don't know if it's credit to Bad Bunny that Latinos art or whatever, or sports is mainstream, that people are trying to jump on it. As companies want to make money. And by the way, I saw an email that I got in my inbox today that was the biggest backlash, I guess, viewership in WWE history. And Backlash has been around for a while. So there was monstrous viewers because of Bad Bunny. That's what he did and provided. But just to bring this LWO movement, when I saw it was at WrestleMania, I'm like, oh, cool, a one-off. Now they're running with this, WWE. So I thought that was cool.
And I have some more for you on that.
Okay. And then to go and expand on it, to get Vega, what's her first name? I forget.
Alexa Vega
to be the homecoming queen, to participate in that, and just seeing her flag with her outfit, and just getting all the embrace, and her crying, like what it meant to her.
Dude, if she would have won, that place would have been ridiculous.
Imagine, it would have been a nice little twist, actually.
It would have. But the thing is that you're building up Rhea to be this unstoppable force, that maybe she should have gone against Bianca. Bianca's starting to get that John Cena treatment, by the way, where fans are trying to get a little bit annoyed. They're kind of like, okay, maybe Selena Vega versus Bianca would have been a good one, and maybe she knocks her off, and Puerto Rico would have gone insane if that would have happened.
Yeah, and it was a great atmosphere. Like it just showed, I know Puerto Rico doesn't have like the biggest stadium, but they I think it was an arena, right? Or they don't really have something bigger. So
Yeah,
it was a 2 day show, Friday and I want to say Saturday. And I think both were
Saturday.
sellouts. So I think it was a total of 30 something thousand people. So
Yeah.
to see that on the island, and then even Damian Priest, I didn't like that they're going against each other, but just to see all even Carlitos come back, and then a bunch of
I
Puerto
spit in the
Rican.
face of people who don't want to be
Dude,
cool.
I got excited when I saw that, and I didn't even
I was
like
so
Carlitos
hyped.
when he was arrested. I think it was kind of annoying, but to bring him back for be
But that
close
was another
to.
thing. He left. And then like Alberto Del Rio ended up being a scumbag. And because I remember a lot of people liked Alberto Del Rio coming.
That's
I
another
liked him.
one.
I thought he was awesome. He ends up leaving because of difficulties, and it's like, okay, all you had was Rey Mysterio. And for a little bit, WWE had no Mexican wrestlers because Rey Mysterio was gone.
Yeah, and it was cool to kind of bring that back. Like I mentioned, like I didn't feel like they really built the momentum there from the LWO days. I know that was more WCW, but
Yeah.
to me as a kid, like I know they're kind of stereotypes, Fernando, but it felt cool to see. Okay, they know what I go through. That's common for me to see, and you hate to kind of fit the stereotype, but yeah, not everybody's a cholo or a gangster. But
Yeah.
it was just
And
cool
we've
to have.
met some of these, and we met some of these people at WrestleMania events,
Yeah, and
at the events over when we did the pre WrestleMania thing at SoFi.
yeah, and I was telling like, who are these guys? And now they're with the OWO. I'm like, okay, so that's pretty cool. So I think the representation was pretty cool, and maybe I'll let you chime in before I get to the boxing side. But just for me to see that, and then to see WWE actually, I know it could be like a money thing, but to finally expand it and I just fit the stereotypes was pretty cool for me to see this whole weekend.
No, Gilbert, and I mean let's talk WWE now. I mean WWE, we know they're willing to take chances, and they take a huge chance going not a huge chance, but you go down to Puerto Rico, you do what you like, you go in there and you're like, okay, let's see what this is gonna look like. You have Bad Bunny come out, and obviously the dude just, I mean, like folks, if you didn't hear it, we'll give you a little bit snippet. Here's a little snippet of what it sounded like. Like this, as soon as he appears, like that is ridiculous. You don't
Dude, I heard the song was playing for like a minute. He was already in the ring, and they were still singing the song. Like you stop
like
after a while.
it was incredible to hear these guys like go off on him, and they were so excited that Bad Bunny was there and he was gonna wrestle. Um, but I really have to give. Okay, so I'm just gonna come out and say it right here, right now. Bad Bunny is the greatest celebrity wrestler of all time. There's no the bumps that this guy bumps are basically the hits and some of the stuff that wrestlers take. Just in case if you guys didn't know, but the bumps that this guy took, he got thrown off and smacked into tables. He was taking kendo sticks. He took every all kinds of beatings from Damian Priest. Not a lot of celebrities go in there and take that kind of beating. So to me, Bad Bunny is the greatest of all time. And now, I mean, the guy wrestled for over 30 minutes. Yeah, he needed that little break when obviously Carlito and them came in. They give him about a good 3-minute break. But that was to show off, obviously, Carlito and Sabio and everybody. So that was a good little break for him. But he wrestled for over 30 minutes. He didn't look like he was gassed. He didn't look like he was overpowered by Damian Priest. It was a great match. I give it a 4.75 for what it was. I thought it was a great showing. It was entertainment. They kept you going. The crowd was so into it. It was incredible. And you had two Puerto Rican superstars going at it. And while I'm giving Bad Bunny credit, Gilbert, I have to give it to Damian Priest too. I told you, why was Damian Priest chosen? Because they feel like he can carry a guy. He carried Bad Bunny well. They both did a great job. I think Damian Priest I think WWE has something here with Damian Priest. I think they need to capitalize on this and put a championship on him, whether it's the Intercontinental or one of the heavyweights. It doesn't matter to me, but I feel like they need to put a belt on him soon. He is one of the top competitors. You saw the way he took all these different bumps from Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny was able to do the Bunny Exploder on him. It was just incredible to see the way these two gelled in the ring. Now, from what I've been hearing, listening, keeping my eye on, WWE is so impressed with Bad Bunny that they're hoping to get him for SummerSlam and for more paper. They want him to continue wrestling. There's even a chance that he could get the tribal chief or one of the world heavyweight champ, like a world heavyweight champ. That's how impressed WWE is with him. They're thinking about giving him a world heavyweight championship match. By the way, this was Triple H, and there's no audio because I know they don't want to put the audio. This is Triple H and Bad Bunny after his match. This is them right there. They're hugging. They're hugging, and he's telling him something. You can't really hear the thing, but everybody was so excited with the performance that Bad Bunny did that they're saying that it's not a one-off. They want him to continue, and they want him to do a lot more. And the reason why Bad Bunny versus Damian Priest wasn't the main event is because he didn't want to overshadow Canelo, who's going to be in the main event of his boxing match. So supposedly that was it, that he didn't want to overshine another fellow Latino, and that's why Bad Bunny decided to make his a little bit earlier. But man, if this would have been a main event, it would have blown the roof off. I felt bad for the other two main event, or the other two. It was the Usos versus Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Riddle, and then it was Brock Lesnar, Cody Rhodes. I felt bad for those two having to come in because these guys were way too on fire and they had the crowd screaming. But sorry, I went on a little bit of a tirade, but I'm so impressed with Bad Bunny, man. You've had the Met Gala, you've had Coachella, you've been doing all the kinds of stuff, and to still find the time to wrestle a match that like we just saw on Saturday, newfound respect. The guy literally can do it all. He's a fantastic wrestler. Well, wrestler or whatever you want to. I don't know if you want to call it wrestler because obviously it was a street fight, but he put on a show and he delivered.
Yeah, and I don't think it even mattered that he went whatever third or last on the card because the Puerto Rico crowd was so into everything. Like they were like just involved in every type of way. It didn't matter. It could have been you and I out there wrestling. They would have blown the roof off the whole arena there or whatever it is, stadium. But yeah, I thought he did a great job, Bad Bunny. And the only thing is like you can't do it too often because it won't be as exciting. Exactly. I think the whole Puerto Rico dynamic was great. Obviously, for the big shows are good. You can't have them every big show, but every now and then is great. And then that was pretty quiet. I know about the Bad Bunny thing saying waiting for or going before Canelo.
That's a big rumor, but remember, I told you when he came to San Diego I went to the second showing. For the first showing, he didn't come out for about an hour. It was a wait, and it was because he was waiting for the Canelo fight to end. So it was definitely so that was one of the reasons why.
And I thought that was a good idea to bring in all these people that are familiar for Puerto Rico and also to buy Bad Bunny some time to recover and do whatever he has to do. But overall, great performance, and I really enjoyed
the NFL players when they're in Denver.
Yeah, so no, and to cap it off with the Bunny Destroyer or the Puerto Rico Destroyer, whatever he calls it now, that was pretty cool for me to see.
Was awesome. But man, it's just I was so high. Like, it's funny, because Dan and Dago was gone for the weekend and Melissa was working, I had my mom watch the match with me. And so she'd be like, well, is he really hitting him? I'm like, Mom, please, for the love of God. I'm like, stop. I'm like, just enjoy it. And she actually got hyped in one of those. She's like, oh, wow. Like, she's like, what do his music people think about him doing this? I'm like, I'm sure they're not happy about any of this because of the bumps that he's taken. But hey, he's living out his dream, and that's all we can hope for. And she was like, would you do that? And I was like, what, wrestle? She's like, well, take a hit. Or I'm like, dude, I was begging WWE the weekend of WrestleMania. Like, if you guys need a journalist to hit in the face with something, like, I'm your guy. I totally would take the hit. While Gilbert and Dan and Dago were like, oh, I do it for money. I'm like, no, I do it for free. No. Just kick me in the face, smack me, whatever you want to do. I'm down. But Gilbert, and the reason why it took I don't know why it's taking WWE this long to make it to Puerto Rico and on a main show, but hopefully it sounds like they might not be back for a while, and it sounds like it may not be a main show, but I think WWE needs to start branching out a little bit more and maybe doing more of their big shows. Gilbert, I told you last week, I think I did, that Seth Rollins got an 11-minute in Paris, France. They need to do more of these house shows out there and do more of that stuff. And I know they're still rolling out after the pandemic and everything, but start doing more shows out in other places, because I'm telling you, the fans love it. The fans are going to be electric. Look at Puerto Rico. That's just barely the beginning. You saw last year in Scotland when when they were down there, how they loved all the guys down there. So start branching out a little bit more, do it in different places like that. I bet you if they went to Mexico City for Rey Mysterio, they would go ballistic. So,
Oh
and some of
yeah,
these other LWO guys, but definitely exciting. But Gilbert, now I turn it over to you. What
yeah.
did you make
Uh,
of the Canelo Alvarez Ryan Smith match?
John Ryder,
John Ryder, whatever. John
close
Smith.
enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, again, similar to like Bad Bunny, it was a great homecoming for Canelo, and I feel like there was something he needed to do. And then also, when you have a homecoming, you can't you tend to you want to be the winner. You can't lose. That's why we picked Bad Bunny to beat Damian Priest. But I guess they're both Puerto Rican, so I mean that's not a good example. But you want to go homecoming, have a perfect ending, and do what you got to do, and put on a show in front of whatever 70, 60,000 plus people, whatever the stadium holds there. But so it was good. And then the more thing about it, I want to criticize Canelo for not finishing or getting the knockout on a John Ryder guy who has faced some good competition, but hasn't really done well. He's never been a real contender. He's kind of been a guy, you know, the guy before you get a championship fight or a guy that kind of gives you a tune up. And that's what Canelo was going for here in his homecoming bout. And you could tell he's getting frustrated, not getting the knockout. He's punching the gloves like this. I can't get this guy. He dropped him pretty good in the 5th round. So that to me is very concerning with not having maybe the power, like which you think the power will still be there. The thing that goes is kind of like your footwork, the combinations, all that. So he was trying to fight Bivol at 175. It wasn't a good look, but I don't want to criticize too much because he did handle this guy in 12 rounds. He wasn't really phased. I know he got touched up, but who cares? It's a fight. He was controlling it, the pace. He did what he wanted. He just couldn't knock the guy out, and Canelo he gave the guy a lot of respect at the end, even though the guy was saying I think he's past his prime a little bit. So, but Canelo did not take it harsh, and I guess it was just in a bad weekend. It wasn't and also being on the zone, man. I don't know I am not a fan of the zone boxing, but whatever. It kind of gets lost there. So that's why I asked at the beginning of the question: did you even watch the fight? Did you even care? I did not really care. I care more for UFC. I care more about WWE Backlash, but I am not too worried about Canelo. But if he fights Benavidez, he could beat Benavidez. If he fights Bivol, I don't know what you're doing. And then the last point I'll make here is I can't figure out if Bivol's doing him a favor by saying, "Hey, I'll fight you at 168 because I already beat you like pretty badly at 175. There ain't no challenge for me there." And that could be the Russian side. They're like, "Hey, why am I going to waste my time at 175? Because I picked you apart." But it could be something where like Canelo could always say, I don't know. This is me thinking kind of the conspiracy theory.
Who's side A there?
Well, it's obviously Canelo. He's still the star power. But
Wow.
this is where my
Yeah, my bad.
conspiracy theory gets to is like Bill does not want to lose the payday, so maybe he's playing ball by making Canelo look good. Like, because if you're Canelo and saying, "No, we got to do it at 168," then you're not trying to avenge that loss. You want a different terms. You want to make it easier. And maybe Bill was trying to say, "Hey, I'm cool with 168. Just bring me down. Give me my payday." And then Canelo's doing this whole thing like, "No, I want same terms, same everything," which I respect. But I'm having a hard time believing that he wants the same terms. But I don't know. That's kind of my negative side there. But if Canelo gets the same terms, 175, major props to that guy.
No, I'm with you. I think they need to. I don't know. I don't know how much I believe all that just because I think, like you said, it's a little bit of a ploy. I told you I thought he was either gonna knock him out in the 10th or 11th or just go to the distance. I think Canelo carried him at the end. I thought Canelo was. Remember when when Floyd Mayweather touched up Jake Paul and it looked like he was not Jake Paul, Logan Paul, and he was gonna fall, and he kind of like grabbed him and lifted him up. That's what I feel like Canelo did here. I thought you could see early on Canelo had him at one point. He just like let off, and I'm kind of like, okay, typical Canelo fight, typical Floyd Mayweather tactic where they're just going in, pop, 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 getting back, pop, 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 getting back, not letting him knock out, go the distance, so the crowd can erupt. Did you hear one judge had 120 to 107 or something like that? Like it was just like it was a huge discrepancy. I was like, oh God, I'm like, damn.
Yeah, 12-0, right? Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I watched it on my phone. I really wasn't care. Like we went to go pick up dinner and then go pick up Melissa from work, so I really didn't like care much. I was watching it, but then I was like, because I just knew what was gonna happen. I knew a typical Canelo fight how it was gonna go. So I think he has lost a step. I don't know. I don't know if he wants to take that Bivol fight. If he takes it at 175, dude, you're gonna get creamed again. But if he takes it at 168, he may have a better chance. But I don't know, dude. If September 16th is his date again to fight him, is the next day to fight, and he's gonna fight Bivol, he better do it at 168 because at 175
Well,
he's
we'll
gonna.
watch it though. It's actually an intriguing fight, regardless of what weight class.
Yeah,
So.
no, 100%. Yeah, no. I mean, I'm gonna watch it regardless, just because I want to watch him and I want to see what he does. But I definitely agree with you. So you feel like he's kind of lost a step, or what do you think?
It's tough to gauge because I actually buy the excuse that like maybe he's a little nervous of a homecoming fight. You have to give more tickets out. You got to deal with the more publicity. You got to be the face of your home country, and it's a lot to kind of take in. And then if you're right on saying, hey, maybe he was trying to carry the guy and he overthought it, and he could have knocked him out in the fifth round, because you're trying to impress the crowd and trying to give him more than 4 or 5 rounds. So a lot, I think that plays a factor, but he did look a little sluggish to me. And but again, like maybe he's in Las Vegas and he's fighting like a Benavides. Maybe he does well. The Bivol one is just very dangerous, so we'll see.
Let's talk a little bit about this. Did you feel like the UFC lost an opportunity by not having their three Mexican champions featured during Cinco de Mayo, and they should make it a priority for Mexican Independence Day to have the three champions featured? I mean, you do
Yeah.
have. I mean, I feel like Mexicans are starting to really, and I think Mexicans are really starting to kind of get into UFC a little bit more and more as boxing they feel like boxing kind of declines a little bit. I feel like more people are getting into UFC, but did
Yeah.
you feel like
Oh,
they missed it?
yeah, definitely. Victor could say this, and we were trying to go to a bar late Saturday night, and like people are all jam packed at the bar to watch a UFC card that I thought was kind of whatever. So like you can't, if it's a Saturday night on a UFC card, it could be it's anybody fighting. You're gonna pack the bars because people know they get a stack card, they get an entertainment fight value. For boxing, if you're not a headliner, you won't get people at the bar asking for a boxing fight. But let me start with this with the UFC thing. Dana White dropping the ball with the Mexico thing. Like I've seen the UFC make rapid cards out of nothing when things go south or in the COVID fight island. Like no excuses here. You don't saying you don't know when you didn't know you could have three champions at one time for Mexico, and it's hard to plan there. I know it's a different country and all that, but just try to work with that Azteca or whatever it is, and give yourself 2 months. Let the fighters hold the belts for 2 months, and then do a quick pay per view. It will sell out right away. A lot of Latinos are going to buy the pay per view card. UFC does well on its own, so make it happen before people lose belts, because UFC belts don't last long. It's not like the WWE where Roman Reigns and Bianca Belair dominated for 3 years. So
Whoa.
there you go. Sorry, but UFC, the belts change quickly, so they dropped an opportunity there. So I wish they could do it and make a fight there, but I don't know what Dana White's thinking.
I get it. Like I understand the 2 points of view, but like September 16th is the bigger like that's when they have it. It's not a federal holiday in Mexico. The
I don't
Cinco de
think it
Mayo, like
matters what day. Just fight
no,
these
I
guys.
just meant like if you wanted to make it like the huge event that you really want to, if you want to put on a major show, September 16th will probably be the
Yeah,
biggest time to do it. But the thing is, you have the champions right now, so I understand why they should have done it in Mexico. But the thing is, I feel like they didn't want to compete against the other two. I feel like they got scared a little bit because remember they didn't put their main events were a lot later this time than they usually are, and I feel like it's because they were waiting for Canelo to be over and they were waiting for for the WWE to be over as well
true.
because they didn't want to compete with that. So I completely understand like the sequence of it. But I mean, if their champions can hold on, if these guys can hold on by September 16th, or maybe Dana tells them, hey, you're not going to fight until September 16th, then I would do a huge pay per view in Mexico. Because if Canelo fights in Vegas, I mean, it'll be big, but in Mexico, that UFC card might be even bigger. So I definitely, if they can hold off having those three guys not fight until September 16th, I would wait for it. But
But
because I mean, you can compete against Canelo. Now, competing against the WWE would have been a lot harder, but competing against Canelo, I feel like they could end up
but
taking.
regardless, give me Henry Cejudo against Brandon Moreno, because I want Cejudo to get worked. He is definitely a play in this card that he doesn't like Mexicans, even though he's Mexican background. But he's also being a good heel, so we'll see. I want to see that fight.
I mean, I understood his point of view. Like, I'm not. It's like if we go to war, I'm not going to go with the Mexican side. I'm going to go with the American side, which is, I mean, obviously true. Like, you're going to pick the winning side. So,
No,
I mean,
that's true, but he's really like going after this, this background. He has no choice, right? He's in a war.
well, yeah,
But
no, well,
but
yeah,
but now he's being a little coward, saying, you know what, I won't even step foot in Mexico. I'm gonna run away. But whatever.
I mean, it's just playing the heel card
Yeah,
really well.
yeah.
I can't wait to see what happens with that because I think Brandon told him, I'll even go to your weight. Like, I don't care. Like, I want to fight you. Screw the belts. Let's put them off to the side. Let's just do this man to man. And I was like, oh, wow. So
Yeah.
definitely that'll be interesting to watch.
But honestly, friend, I don't have an issue with him saying like, you know what, I'm not gonna have a Mexican flag. I'm not gonna have this and that. But I just feel like, yeah, you're not saying it right. You're making it seem like you hate your culture, and he's not having the right approach. And everybody has their opinion. But for me, I'm gonna represent both. But he's really going with the heel angle here, and we'll see. Maybe it helps him his career.
Heel angle sell. That's the thing is that
Yeah, I know.
people love a heel. So obviously, I bet you there's a lot of Mexicans that love the guy and they're probably going for him. By the way, it was funny because he's like who was he fighting? I really didn't even.
Oh, Aljamain Sterling.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm gonna fight for your people on Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah. He ran with that bit, huh?
Yeah, but he said for your people and your day. That's how I can tell you don't know crap about what you're talking about because Cinco de Mayo ain't shit down there. So
Hey,
you already took the fat L on
man.
that one. But yeah, no, I definitely I agree with that.